elected to protect our country. That's what I'm doing.
He never wants to make a phone call like the one he made earlier this week where he spoke to Officer Singh of California's widow because an illegal immigrant killed him in cold blood.
The Pentagon and the president have confirmed a major figure in the bombing of the USS Cole has been hunted down.
It's nice to know that we still have people serving in our government to make sure that those that kill or harm Americans around the world meet their justice.
A community is mourning the death of Utah police officer Joseph Shinners, killed in the line of duty.
The officer who you would want to show up at your door in your biggest crucible moment.
The Philadelphia Eagles stay alive after a heartbreaking missed field goal by the Chicago Bears.
And, he hits the upright again. That's impossible.
The winner, annual Carol Burnett Award. Carol Burnett.
That I can look back and say once more, I am so glad we had this time together. Thank you.
She pulled on her ear, which was her secret signal originally to her family. Hey, I love you. And now the whole world knows about it. Now she's got her own award.
Don't you remember that show? We're going to get to all the awards from the Golden Globes last night and some of those emotional speeches, too.
Yeah, and some of the stupid speeches like Christian Bale's.
It wasn't very political.
He faked Satan.
Just Satan. Yeah.
The award, the host said, we're not going to get political. And
right.
They did not, but he did.
Right, yeah. But he did Cheney. He did Vice, excuse me.
I'm sure everyone at home's already seen it. They watched last night, right?
Of all the awards, I only saw one of the movies, which goes to show you. I'm busy watching TV.
And I saw the #1 with Bohemian Rhapsody. I feel so in for the first time in my life.
There you go.
Brian has seen one movie over the course of 5 years, and he talks about it every day. So when Bohemian Rhapsody won, we all thought about Brian last night.
Right, because now I can stop talking about Here Comes the Boom or Fred Claus.
Thank goodness. Meanwhile, let's talk about the news. We are now entering week 3 of the government partial shutdown, and you know what? So far, no end in sight. But Russell Vought, who is the White House budget director, did send a letter to congressional leaders, and they told them exactly what the White House wanted. And there are a couple of important things that are different. There's something the president wanted, and there's something the Democrats wanted as well.
Well, the president felt it was important to send Congress this letter because when he had the meeting in the Situation Room with Democrats and Republicans, Kristen Nielsen was up on the screen trying to give her presentation and give the facts of what's happening down on the border. Right. Democrats didn't want to hear it. They interrupted her. So he sent the entire presentation to Congress and a letter outlining exactly what he wants.
You got a crisis, and what they said, one of the biggest criticisms of the Republicans, tell me exactly what you're doing with the money. Tell me exactly what you need it for. Well, here's the answer. $5.7 billion for a steel barrier. I know what you're saying. That's up from the $1.3 they were offered, the $1.6 they're ready to accept, and the $2.5.
Or the $1 that Nancy.
Right, or the $2.5 billion.
Right, and the key to that is steel barrier because it's, instead of a big concrete wall, it's now a steel barrier.
Or the $2.5 billion that they seem to have been agreeing on. So him backing off and saying, okay, I don't need concrete. I'll go for steel barrier. I'll do some steel slats. He also says more judges. He also says 750 Border Patrol agents, 2,000 additional law enforcement, and you got technology, which Democrats are calling for. This is what Kirstjen Nielsen wanted. I need $800 million for humanitarian needs. There is not enough facilities for the flood of illegals coming across, many of which are families. There's a new record in November. 25,000 families have flooded across, and that was a new 1-month record in November for total crossings ever to come into U.S.
Well, it's not just Kristen Nielsen and Kevin McAleenan, who is commissioner of the Border Patrol, who were pushing for that. That $800 million is what the Democrats wanted. Now, the Democrats are saying they haven't agreed because the White House has not been forthcoming about how the money would be used or why the request is so much more than what the White House had asked for in the past. But nonetheless, the key at the top was now they're calling for a steel barrier, not a concrete wall, not a big, beautiful wall, a steel barrier. Here's the president.
They don't like concrete, so we'll give them steel. We'll build a steel barrier. Steel. It'll be made out of steel. It'll be less obtrusive and it'll be stronger. Steel is actually more expensive than concrete, but it'll look beautiful and it's very strong. We have a crisis at the border of drugs, of human beings being trafficked all over the world. They're coming through. And we have an absolute crisis.
87% of people caught in Yuma, Arizona are families. 60% are children. In El Paso alone, they're getting 200 kids a day. If that is not an emergency, I don't know what is.
Right. Well, and they're going to spend that extra money to build a facility down at our southern border so when kids come in with if they have their parents, they can get food and they can get medical attention.
Well, and Brian, when you listed off the things the president wants, you mentioned that he wants more judges. He says in that letter to Congress, the immigration court backlog is nearly 800,000 cases. So many people waiting to find out whether or not they get asylum, and they're waiting here in our country. He goes on to detail some of the stats. He says in 2017 and 2018, ICE officers arrested about 235,000 aliens with criminal convictions or charges within the United States, 100,000 for assault, 30,000 sex crimes, and 4,000 homicides.
Right.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders was talking about this. She said the president is thinking about the families that have lost their loved ones, like that police officer in California. Listen.
He never wants to make a phone call like the one he made earlier this week where he spoke to Officer Singh of California's widow because an illegal immigrant came across our border and killed him in cold blood. That shouldn't happen in this country, particularly when we have things that we know can help prevent it. Every life, that's what sets America apart from every other country. We value life. It's what makes us unique. And the day that we stop doing that, even if it's 1, 10, or 100,000, that's when we stop being the greatest country on the face of this earth.
If this goes to Friday, it's the longest shutdown in history. And the GOP, although they might feel like they have a crisis and they're addressing something adequately and honestly, they are beginning to break. I mean, you have Cory Gardner saying, why don't we temporarily open up the government and then focus on what we don't agree on? Tillis, Collins, and Lamar Alexander, same thing. If they begin to break and feel the pressure with, for example, there's a mass walkout of TSA or with the IRS or HUD, where they get their supplemental rental checks, if those aren't coming, that'll begin to maybe crack at the foundation of the Republicans' point of view.
But a lot of that is, it's politics. A number of those Republicans are up for re-election this year. I was through the airport this weekend, and as I was going through TSA down in Palm Beach, I said to the woman who checked my ID, I said, hey, thanks for working with not getting paid. And she said, we've been out longer before. We're going to wind up getting paid in the end, ultimately, she said. Right, and I said, how long were you out before? And she said 19 days. And she said some people at TSA were calling in sick. And then the woman behind me said, so why did you come to work? And she said, the TSA agent said, well, because I took an oath.
Yeah.
I took an oath for the security of the United States of America. That's why I'm working without pay.
Amazing. God bless
Amazing.
And the government's letting people like that down. Because you think if I'm going to show up every day, at least you'll pay me every day. The other thing is, maybe as a country, we should pat each other down and give the TSA a break.
I think that's something completely different.
Maybe I'm still working out the details. Right.
Okay.
Not only the planes will not be safe, but you might get sued.
Yeah,
that would be a lawsuit.
Well, extreme measures during the shutdown.
All right, let's hand it over to Jill. You know how some headlines for us. Good Monday morning. Let's make it a great week.
Yes, and Brian, that's probably your worst idea you've ever had.
Really? I'll come up with worse. Don't worry about it.
All right, let's get you caught up on some of your headlines, starting with this. A community is mourning the death of Utah police officer killed in the line of duty. That's Officer Joseph Shinners, who died in a weekend shootout with a suspect he was trying to arrest.
He understands sacrifice. He is the officer who you would want to show up at your door in your biggest crucible moment.
The suspect could face murder charges. Shinners is a 3-year police veteran. A GoFundMe page is raising money for his wife and 1-year-old son. You can donate by going to foxandfriends.com. A man charged with murdering a child riding in a car with her family is due in court today. Prosecutors say Eric Black Jr. admits to driving a truck as his passenger opened fire in Houston, shooting and killing 7-year-old Jasmine Barnes. Police say the family was not the intended target. A second suspect, Larry Woodrife, is in custody. He has not been charged in the murder. Today, Kevin Spacey will face a judge over sexual assault charges. The actor is accused of inappropriately touching a teenage boy at a Nantucket bar back in 2016. He's expected to plead not guilty. If convicted, Spacey could face up to 5 years in prison and have to register as a sex offender. He's also faced other accusations of sexual assault. Hey, let's go to the NFL playoffs where my Philadelphia Eagles stay alive after
the upright.
I know,
right?
I know.
And then it's a double hit at the end, and he hit the one right before they called the timeout.
But a W is a W.
Indeed it is.
Win is a win for you. Congratulations.
The Nick
to the
Foles
Eagles.
era continues.
Yep.
All right, 10 minutes now after the top of the hour. Were you watching the Golden Globes last night?
Listen, there were a lot of winners last night. 76th Annual Golden Globes Award. It's the first installment in the major awards season, and Andy Samberg and Sandra Oh, the hosts, pledged not to get political themselves, and they didn't. And I'll tell you what, the biggest applause, I am told, I did not see it, was for TV pioneer Carol Burnett, who received a new Lifetime Achievement Award in her name, and she was so grateful.
I'm really gobsmacked by this. Does this mean I get to accept it every year? Sometimes I catch myself daydreaming about being young again and doing it all over. And then I bring myself up short when I realize how incredibly fortunate I was to be there at the right time. Because what we did then, it couldn't be done today. The cost alone would be prohibitive. 28-piece live orchestra, no synthesizers, 12 dancers, average of 65 costumes a week. And sad to say, today's audiences might never know what they're missing. So, here's to reruns on YouTube.
So that's Carol Burnett. Now, meanwhile, for Best Picture, it was Bohemian Rhapsody. That was the big story of Queen. Best Motion Picture over Comedy was Green Book. I did not see that. Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Rami Malek, who played Freddie Mercury, thank you, in Bohemian Rhapsody. And, of course, Glenn Close was shocked to win Best Actress.
That is the one movie I saw, The Wife. I saw it yesterday on the airplane.
And?
It was terrific.
Liked it?
The big movie, Vice. Not many people saw it, but Christian Bale is a really good actor and really despises Republicans, especially Dick Cheney, when he talked about bleaching his hair, gaining 40 pounds, bleaching his eyebrows, gaining 40 pounds, and playing the role. He described it like this.
He said, I've got to find somebody who can be absolutely charisma-free and reviled by everybody. So he went, that's got to be Bale in it, you know. Thank you. And for all the competition, I will be cornering the market on charisma-free. What do you think? Mitch McConnell next? That could be good. Thank you to Satan for giving me inspiration on how to play this role.
Okay, so there was Christian Bale being political, which the show otherwise was politics-free.
Yeah, it's just a real insult to a guy who spent his whole life in public service, from Secretary of Defense to Chief of Staff to Vice President of the United States. It makes Bush look terrible, Condoleezza Rice, Donald Rumsfeld especially.
All right, congratulations to Carol Burnett, 85 years old. We all grew up watching her. She is such an icon, and she gained the respect of everyone in that room.
That's right. Meanwhile, it's been more than 18 years since the deadly bombing in the USS Cole, and now the al-Qaeda terrorist behind the attack has been taken out in a drone strike. Former commander of the Cole joins us.
October 2000, the USS Cole was attacked by 2 suicide bombers, 17 killed, 39 injuries. Look at that hole in the side of the ship. But as of last week, al-Badwa'i, a al-Qaeda operative tied to the attack, was taken out. That happened last week. President Trump made the announcement yesterday, saying this: our great military has delivered justice for the heroes lost and wounded in the cowardly attack on the USS Cole. We have just killed the leader of that attack, Jamal al-Badwa'i. Our work against al-Qaeda continues. We will never stop in our fight against radical Islamic terrorism. Here now to react is former commander of the USS Cole, Commander Kirk Leupold. Commander, your thoughts about his death?
Brian, I'm extremely gratified because it sends a strong signal that the U.S. government is still willing to invest the time, the intelligence assets, and most importantly, the ordnance, that if you kill or you harm Americans, we're going to find you and we're going to hold you accountable.
Yemen held him. He escaped from prison a couple of times, came back, played a little bit of a game. So we waited and we took him out as soon as he went out by himself, correct?
Absolutely. We sat there and kept an eye on him. This is real tribute to the intelligence community, that we still keep an eye on those who have done us harm when we know where they live, what they do, and we wait for that moment patiently, thoughtfully, deliberately, and then when the opportunity presents itself, like it evidently did in this case where he was alone outside the capital of Sana'a, we got him with the drone strike.
So the key now is get al-Nashiri. He's at Gitmo right now. He's as bad as it gets, just under KSM perhaps in terms of his lethality. So what do we need to get that guy the death penalty?
The biggest thing we need to do is stop with all the defense motions, move forward with the military commission trial, allow it to proceed in an expeditious manner this year. It has been literally over a decade of the families and crew waiting for justice in this case. Justice delayed has been justice denied for us. We want to see him held accountable, and when found guilty, sentence him to death and carry it out very quickly. I mean, let's be realistic. There has been enough times past. The evidence is overwhelming in this case, and we need to hold him accountable by military commission, just like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and the 9/11 conspirators.
And finally, are you in touch with the families? Have you guys had a chance to interact at all since his death came out?
I have. I mean, this is one of those things, Brian, where it begins to fade in the past a little bit. When these types of things happen, it obviously reopens that wound to a very tragic day and the consequences that came from it. But by the same token, for the families, seeing this kind of justice meted out by our government does give them a sense of satisfaction that we are still interested in justice as a nation, and we will hold radical Islamic terrorists accountable.
All right, go get him, Commander. Thanks so much. I know it's good news for you and your family. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Brian. Happy New Year.
All right, back at you. Meanwhile, President Trump says the wall will protect our country, but one pundit says it stands for something else.
This wall that the president wants is a monument to white nationalism.
National Border Patrol Vice President next to talk about that.
I'm 53, but
All right, just in time to read the headlines. Let's get started. French President Emmanuel Macron reportedly ready to fire the Paris police chief over the yellow vest protest. That, according to a French newspaper, after the protesters broke into a government building. The riots forced a spokesperson to evacuate when demonstrators smashed through a wooden door. It's hardly this is still going on. And across the English Channel, the British Parliament will finally vote on Theresa May's Brexit deal. The vote expected to be January 15th. May delayed the vote last month over fears it would fail. The UK will leave the EU on March 29th, one way or another. Steve?
All right, Brian, thank you. The president sees the border wall as a way to protect our country, but according to one political pundit on another channel, it deserves a different purpose.
This wall that the president wants is a monument to white nationalism. Anybody who agrees to give any money to this wall is foolish. And by the way, as I have said all along, Donald Trump said that Mexico was going to pay for the wall. So unless he gets a check from Lopez Obrador, I don't see why Democrats have any reason to have a conversation with him.
But our next guest says this is completely false, that he's wrong. His name is Hector Garza. He's a Hispanic Border Patrol agent and the Vice President of National Border Patrol Council and a guest on our show often. He joins us now to explain why he thinks that political pundit is wrong. That pundit said that the wall is a monument to white nationalism. What do you say?
Well, Border Patrol agents are the ones that are asking for that physical barrier, that border wall. Over 51% of our Border Patrol agent workforce are Hispanics, and we support the wall. We support President Trump, and that's just absolutely false, that this is a monument for white nationalism.
You don't follow that. Let me ask you about this. The White House Budget Director, Russell Vought, sent a letter to congressional leaders, and it detailed, and we went through the list earlier, everything that the White House wants at this point. And Hector, one of the things was $5.7 billion for the construction of a steel barrier on the southwest border. What's important here is they're now calling it a steel barrier and not a big concrete wall. Does that bother you, or is a steel barrier okay for you?
So we already have steel barrier, and something that President Trump did during his administration is that they actually tested a number of different walls, physical barriers, to include that type of steel fencing. We've been replacing a lot of wall along the border, which is physical barriers. For us, it doesn't bother us what they want to call it. They can call it a wall, they can call it a levee wall, they can call it steel barriers. That doesn't matter to Border Patrol agents. As Border Patrol agents, we need a physical barrier out there so that we can protect our country, so that we can keep American people safe, and so that we can keep our Border Patrol agents safe as well.
Agent Garza, I know there's 16 different sectors, and each sector was asked to submit their recommendations to the president and to his team to determine how to move forward. What did all 16 recommend the wall?
Yes, the majority of the sectors did recommend some type of physical barrier. Some of those sectors also recommended that they upgrade the existing physical barriers that they have in their sectors. We know that we also conducted surveys of our Border Patrol agents, and two of the major sectors, they overwhelmingly supported the wall in order to secure the border. Now, the border wall, the physical barriers, it's just one factor of the border security package. We do know that by building a border wall, a physical barrier, we will have additional infrastructure. We'll have access roads to properly secure the border, additional lighting, additional sensors, and all those things that are needed to secure the border.
Agent Garza, obviously right now we're at the stage in Washington where it's all politics to try to figure out if Congress is going to give the president the money to build some sort of a structure. But at the same time, it's very personal for you and members of the Border Patrol because you're not getting paid. How much of an impact is not getting paid putting on you and your family?
So it's definitely going to affect all of us, all Border Patrol agents. It's going to affect all federal employees. But we believe that our Congress should fund the border wall. For some reason, these people don't want to fund the border wall. They don't want to provide funding for $5.7 billion for something that is needed. And because of that, our congressional leaders need to make sure that they pass this funding, because a lot of people are going to be hurting at the end of the day, and it's going to fall on the Democrats.
But Mr. Garza, Nancy Pelosi says a wall is immoral. It's an immorality.
Well, what's an immorality is the drugs that are coming across and killing our people here in the United States. What's also an immorality is all the people that are being victimized by the drug cartels because we're pretty much incentivizing for them to come to this country illegally. We need to make sure that we discourage illegal immigration. And for us as Border Patrol agents, we get assaulted on a daily basis. Yeah. We get rocked by aliens. We get shot at by those Mexican drug cartels, and we need help.
Agent Garza, thanks for coming on, and stay safe.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, it's 6:30 here in New York City on this Monday morning. Remember when a Democratic congressman insulted President Trump supporters by saying this?
Donald Trump supporters are older, less educated, less prosperous, and they are dying early.
Well, this morning, veteran and new Congressman Dan Crenshaw firing back on behalf of Trump supporters everywhere.
Plus, forget all the celebrities on the red carpet. There is a new star in town, the Water Girl, the one in the background right there. She is making quite a splash.
That's some product placement, isn't it?
And are you worried about that with your party?
I am, but I think that is something that, again, any leader, any party right now, I think both Democrats and Republicans have been going through some significant growing pains. I think that it will spell, a push and pull as far as ideology and policy priorities for Democrats in the House. But, each one of these members are going to have to, cast votes that are appropriate for their specific districts. So, we hear a lot about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for example. She is someone in New York that has a very different, constituency and priorities than somebody in the middle of the country, for example, that may represent my home state of Ohio. Yeah. So, we'll have to wait and see.
All right, so the Dems got the House back, and they're already getting busy proposing a number of bills here, going after the president. A lot of the things that drive the Democratic Party crazy about the president, they're addressing right off the bat. They want some new ethics rules. They want 10 years of tax returns from any presidential candidate. Obviously, they're talking about impeachment. We've got one idea to abolish the Electoral College. And the Democrats would love to do that because they just won an election by a few million votes, but lost it. And they lost it because of the Electoral College. Lauren, do any of these have a chance of getting through the Senate?
No. I mean, Mitch McConnell's already said they're dead on arrival. And what's fascinating about this bill is that it's very much a laundry list of all the grievances that the Democrats felt that they've had over the past two elections, that they win the majority of the popular vote, but they still can't win any real elections. But I think what it does is it's not a very serious bill in that some of the provisions even designate the our election systems as critical infrastructure, which the Department of Homeland Security already did in January of 2017. So some of it's redundant. It's very much not a serious bill, and they even introduced it without fully having it baked. They introduced the bill on Thursday and didn't have the contents of the bill ready until Friday. So they're really just checking the box for some of their members to have this vote and go home and say that they did this and move on to the next thing.
I think it's more than that.
Capri, go ahead. And Capri, what do you think about the Electoral College bill?
I'm against that. I mean, I think that there's a good reason why we have an Electoral College, and it needs to stay that way.
Right.
That being aside, I think that I've seen this time and time again in my career, at least at the state legislative level, when bills come up to be voted on, it's not always necessarily because they expect to become law. It's to get people on record taking a stand. And for some of these things in regards to transparency, good government, President Trump's taxes, for example, this isn't about necessarily thinking it's going to pass the Senate, but getting Republicans on record and also getting Democrats on record to say these are our priorities, and they can point to somebody in 2 years saying you voted against this and it's an attack ad.
Gotcha. I gotcha. That makes perfect sense. Ladies, thank you so much for your time this morning. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks. It is 38 minutes after the hour. It wasn't all political jabs at last night's Golden Globes. Carol Burnett delivering a moving speech when accepting an award named in her honor.
I'm just happy that our show happened when it did, and that I can look back and say once more, I am so glad we had this time together.
Carly Shimkus joins us live with the reaction pouring in for the TV legend.
Welcome back. A heated Twitter debate between freshman Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and GOP Minority Whip Steve Scalise took a pretty ugly turn.
Don't you love Twitter debates? Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7 Sirius XM 115 here with the online outrage to some of the shocking responses from Ocasio-Cortez's followers.
Hey, yeah, that's right. Good morning, guys. So it all started when New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez suggested a dramatic tax increase on the nation's wealthiest people. Congressman Scalise criticized the plan, and the two traded barbs on Twitter. But things turned ugly when some of Ocasio-Cortez's followers started tweeting threatening messages. One person suggesting someone snipe him. Another person saying she's got better aim than James Hodgkinson, that's for sure, referring to the man responsible for the 2017 congressional baseball practice shooting that left Scalise fighting for his life. Another person adding, kick his cane. Well, Steve Scalise responded to that upon seeing those messages, saying, "Hi, at AOC Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Happy to continue this debate on the floor of the People's House, but it's clearly not productive to engage here with some of your radical followers. Hashtag stay classy." Ocasio-Cortez has yet to respond to the Twitter controversy, at least online.
I'm sure, to be fair, though, AOC probably got a number of nasty comments herself.
I'm so glad you said that. Twitter is an equal opportunity.
Yes,
Yes, it
Ain't
is.
nobody playing fair on Twitter.
Absolutely.
All right, I guess I'll do this one. Carol Burnett.
You said you were going to.
We discussed who's going to toss it. Carol Burnett at the Golden Globes last night.
Yeah, that's right. So Carol Burnett, she delivered a touching speech at the Golden Globes while accepting the first annual Carol Burnett Award, of course, named after her. Watch.
My first love growing up was the movies. And then later, when I was a teenager, we got our first television set. And then I had a new love. I'm just happy that our show happened when it did, and that I can look back and say once more, I am so glad we had this time together.
Oh, it was such a sweet moment and a well-deserved honor. Kate on Twitter says, congratulations. What an extraordinary honor. And oh, so well-deserved. Another person saying, thank you, Carol Burnett, for all the wonderful memories. And lastly, EIM Grace says she should host the Oscars. Interesting suggestion there.
Okay, so what is this whole Fiji girl thing? I have absolutely no idea.
Okay, so celebrities, of course, expected to be in the spotlight last night, but an unexpected face is getting all the attention on social media. A woman who was serving Fiji water on the red carpet appeared in a countless number of pictures in the background of celebrity shots. So folks on social media absolutely eating this up. Jody on Twitter says, she is my spirit animal. Another person tweeting, my main inspiration in life right now is to be the Fiji water girl at the Golden Globes. And Quinn also chiming in saying, and the Golden Globes for the most ominous photobomb goes to Fiji water girl. So that company certainly getting their money's worth.
Interesting.
Of course, they drink Fiji at the Golden Globes.
How highbrow.
Pretentious water ever. Just shut up already.
Thanks,
all right,
Carly.
Carly, thank you so much.
Faster cell phones, TVs that roll up like posters, and possibly even flying cars. All of that on display at the Consumer Electronics Show this week in Las Vegas. That's where Kurt the Cyber Guy is, and he has a preview next.
First, though, let's check in with Steve Doocy and see what he did this weekend.
Hi, Steve.
Hey,
Let's see, what did I do this weekend?
You don't know.
Not much.
Watch the Eagles win?
No, didn't do that.
He was in bed.
Yeah, I missed the Golden Globes too, but we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about how the administration has actually made an entree to the Democrats negotiating this wall on our southern border and have given them some things that they've been asking for. The big question is, will they bite? Will they be interested? We've got a great panel and 3 hours worth of guests, including Democrat Senator from the great state of Delaware, Chris Coons, will be joining us. From Louisiana, Congressman and Minority Whip Steve Scalise and Senator Marsha Blackburn, the new senator from the great state of Tennessee. She's going to be joining us live. So we've got a busy 3 hours. Kicks off just about 17 minutes from right now, right here on the channel everybody trusts for their morning news and recap for the weekend, which I really don't remember.
14 minutes from right now.
Yep,
Check
14
it
minutes.
14, 15,
Whatever.
16.
See you then, Steve.
You bet.
We're coming right back.
Back at Fox News Health Alert, fatal flu cases are on the rise. 13 children have died from the flu virus this season. Fox News medical contributor Dr. Nicole Saphier joined us earlier, and she says it's still not too late to get vaccinated.
We had nearly 200 kids die from the flu last year. 80% of those were not vaccinated. And right now we have 13. We don't know their vaccination states, but we're only going to see that number increase. So if you haven't gotten your flu shot, if your children haven't gotten your flu shot, I highly, highly recommend still getting it.
It's nasty this year. I feel like everybody's sick. Widespread flu activity has been reported across these 24 states right here.
I went with one of my friends last week so that she could get her flu shot.
That's good. That's
supportive friend.
Very good.
Yes. Apple has a big message for Amazon and Google. The company plastering a 13-story tall message on the side of a Las Vegas hotel reading, quote, "What happens on your iPhone stays on your iPhone." Does it, though? It looms over the Consumer Electronics Show, where Google and Amazon are expected to unveil new products. Both companies have faced criticism over reports they've sold user data. And here to give us a preview of that Consumer Electronics Show, considered the Super Bowl of the tech world, is Kurt the Cyber Guy. Good morning, Kurt. How are you?
Jillian, good morning to you. Rob, good to see you. We're talking about all the new technology. 2.7 million square feet to go through here in Las Vegas. Show kicks off today. There were some announcements last night. For example, a thing called the Air Selfie got announced. This is something that we've seen last year, but they've come out with 3 new models that lets you really just take advantage of, well, there it is.
This is ridiculous.
Instead of throwing your phone in the air, you use this and it takes pictures all around you.
Do we
really
need
cool
this?
device. The Air Selfie is what it's called. Oh, do you need this?
Jillian
wants
I don't need that.
You won't be able to otherwise get the pictures. Yeah, no, you do need this. It's about 65 feet. It'll go above your head, take pictures of you and your friends, and you would love that. Now, at home, you have this thing called now the Mookie. Also from Italy. This is a brand new device that, well, will feed your dogs in a whole new way. It would recognize, by the way, the thieving pet. So the cat steals the dog food, or the dog steals the cat food, won't happen anymore. They walk up, they see the camera inside of the dog dish, it opens up the side of the food for that pet, and that way, you know, fair food for all at the home front. And we have this also announced last night, the world's first ever modular micro LED TV from Samsung. This got announced on the stage, I'm talking just hours ago here in Las Vegas. One of the most incredible television pictures I have ever seen. And also they announced the QLED line of Samsung will come out this year with a 98-inch 8K TV. And 8K is what you're hearing about. That's 4 times the resolution of the 4K TVs that we've been seeing so far. And you walk up to this thing and you can't even see the pixels. The clarity is so brilliant and amazing. I was wondering, what do I need an 8K TV for? Well, this is why. It will take 4K content and up-convert it to 8K. What that means is that the viewing at home, especially with their AI-powered enhancements, will just make watching TV, whether it's sports or whatever, just incredible coming out in 2019.
Hey, Kurt, what do you think of that?
We talked about this. Just the
what do you think
buzz
of that?
here in Las Vegas is that Apple giant billboard that's out there. Right as you walk into the show, you can't miss it. And they're just poking the eye of Google and Facebook out here at the show.
Okay. Yeah, there's the ad. Wow. That really is right there in your face, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Kirk Knutson live from his hotel
You just
bathroom.
can't miss it. The money they must have spent on that also is pretty amazing.
I don't know what the echo is. Hey, Kirk, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. There's a delay. It's over now. 54 minutes after the hour, a bizarre attack in a park. A jogger is bitten by a dog and then gets bitten by that dog's owner.
It is a bad bite, but tell you what, I would bite someone really bad too if they were grabbing my hair.
Oh my gosh, the story that ended with this woman behind bars. You don't want to miss this.
Democrat Gavin Newsom will be sworn in as California's new governor today. The ceremony coming after a weekend of very pricey parties and events. Ticket packages for large groups running as high as $200,000. Isn't that something? Newsom takes over for four-term Governor Jerry Brown after serving as lieutenant governor since 2011.
The trial over the Trump administration's citizenship question on the census set to begin today. The DOJ argues it will give the government an accurate count and help enforce a 1965 law aimed at protecting minority voting rights. Opponents claim it's a political move to benefit Republican policies.
All right, time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, the good. Inmates rushed to help a police officer who suffered a stroke. The three men were working outside in North Carolina when their supervisor started to tumble into a ditch. Wow. They stopped traffic for help and called 911, and the officer is now recovering. Wow.
Next, the bad. A man out of jail for less than an hour is accused of robbing a bank across the street from a Missouri police station. Police say they spotted him sitting on the curb outside the station following the crime. The man now being investigated for possible ties to bank robberies in 2 other states.
All right. Finally, the really ugly. A dog owner accused of biting a jogger who had pepper sprayed her dog. Now, follow me here. The jogger told police that the dogs ran at her while she was on a California trail. Well, she pepper sprayed the dogs, thinking they were going to attack her. Officers say the dog's owner then came up and started punching and biting the woman herself. That's her. She was arrested and could face up to 6 years in prison.
Wow, that is quite a story to tell.
She's not all bark.
Good job. That was pretty lame.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.